Look, we're going to turn to Washington for compensation from as crime victims, as I call it, with a slight rhetorical flourish. But we're also going to do our part to raise revenue. And two places where we can raise revenue, one is sports betting, and I'm going to ask Rob to explain how we want to do sports betting. We want to do sports betting the way the state runs the lottery, Marcia, where the state gets the revenues. Many states have done sports betting, but they basically allow casinos to run their own gambling operations. That makes a lot of money for casinos, but it makes minimal money for the state. And I'm not here to make casinos a lot of money. I'm here to raise funds for the state. So we have a different model for sports betting. And then recreational marijuana, I think this should have been passed years ago. I think too many people have been imprisoned and incarcerated and punished. Too many of those people are Black, Latino, and poor. It's exaggerated the injustice of the justice system. So I've supported it for years. I've tried to pass it. But this is a year where we do need the funding, and a lot of New Yorkers are struggling. So I think this year will give us the momentum to get it over the goal line. Rob, do you want to speak about sports betting, though? Because there's a very big difference in the way we intend to do it.
So the narrative out there has been that the state is losing billions of dollars to other states to sports betting. But the reality is that the billions of dollars that are being wagered and the monies that are being made are not being made by the taxing jurisdictions. In New Jersey, for example, which is the most commonly used example, in the entire 3 years of sports betting, they've collected less than $80 million, actually only $45 million in 12 months, compared to the billions that are being talked about. The reason being, everyone else is making a lot of money off sports betting. The jurisdiction where it's in the state is not. There are a few states that have done it a different way, where the state contracts with the private sector who runs the sports books, but the state ends up getting the majority of what is left over after everything is returned to the bettors. So the difference between the two estimates would be between the state making somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million a year versus $500 million a year. So the way the governor is proposing it, and we'll advance it, is so that the state can get up to $500 million a year instead of 50, and that money would then go to the state budget. Otherwise, for the bettors, it's seamless and it's exactly the same. The only difference is state gets the money versus others. And that's the proposal, which you'll see when the governor puts out his executive budget.
Rob, how much do we think we would raise from marijuana?
Marijuana has a longer just runway by the time you set it up, but by the time it's fully effective, under our proposal, you'll get about $300 million a year, but again, that will take several years to get up to those numbers.
And again, marijuana, as everyone knows, Massachusetts has legalized marijuana, New Jersey is going to legalize marijuana, so what are we really talking about at this point?